What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 5 of Zero to Hero. As always, I'm here with Matt M. Obviously, I'm Matt C. And today we want to look a little bit into how to kind of come up with the ideas behind your first project and really what you should focus on and what you should avoid doing. So this is coming off the last episode where we've already identified what things you know, what things you're good at, and what things you need to work on as far as resources are concerned. So jumping right in, I wanted to begin by discussing the idea of a niche versus a general topic. So looking at what you want to make as your idea for like a website or for really the main focus of whatever you're creating, a lot of people are going to think in terms of generalities. So for example, if I say, all right, Matt, I'm going to make a new website, right? It's going to be a video game site, right? Of course, I do have a video game site, but that being
link below.
that being said, in terms of feasible ideas, it's really not a good idea to do that. You can't just say that you like video games, so you're going to make a video game site. Just based on the fact that the internet's been around forever, it doesn't work that way. There's no space for you in the video game market. Speaking in generalities, you can't just write about all video games and hope to make it anywhere. The difference being, if you were to create a niche or essentially a specialized section of a larger topic, you would be much more likely to gain some footing and to gain some reputation there. So as an example, video games, right? So if I were to make my new website or brand or whatever, maybe instead of doing video games, maybe I focus on horror games, or I focus on horror game reviews and news and whatever. The point being, I'm much more specified now. So the number of competitors that I'm now facing goes from an immeasurable number down to, not immeasurable, you know what I mean, down to a relatively finite or lesser competition. So while you're still competing with the IGNs, the big names, the fact is they're not specialized. So when people to think of horror games, you want them to come to your site and go to you. Does that hit home? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, definitely hits home for me. And I think you're totally right. It's definitely about narrowing your niche, your little area of competency, that thing that you do better than anyone else. Narrowing it until you reach a point where you have your own domain.
Yeah.
So you might start off with, I'm going to make a video game website. I'm going to make a first-person video game website.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a first-person video game website that has live tutorials and focuses on horror games.
Yeah.
And now you're slowly putting yourself in, this is my niche.
Yes.
You can expand your niche, but that focusing of it, if you're finding that you're not having a lot of success, you might not be focused enough.
Yeah, and I think that does a pretty good job of explaining the fact that the reason why we want to specify this niche, like I had hit on a little bit before, is because we want to reduce the competition surrounding this type of content. The fact is, you will never be seen by anyone if you're trying to compete with the IGN, the GameSpot, the whatever, right? But I mean, off the top of your head, can you think of too many specialized horror game websites? No. I bet you if you are looking up on Google, there's only a couple. So you can probably at least compete with them. And of course, your niche needs to be something that you're relatively passionate about. So you can't really just choose a niche that you don't know too much about or that you're not really interested in, because you're gonna need to crank out a lot of content involving this. So yeah.
And I'm gonna bookmark the word passion. I think we should talk about that a little later. But I definitely agree with you that it has to be something that you know about. So you don't have to be, I'm not going to say you don't have to be an expert in it, but you can definitely build your knowledge.
Yeah.
So maybe you know a lot about video games. Maybe your horror video game knowledge is so-so, but you enjoy horror video games and you know enough. You'll learn.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely, this podcast was definitely, neither of us were experts on entrepreneurship, and in some areas aren't still.
Yeah.
But in a lot of areas, we have gained that competency. And notice we're not talking about entrepreneurship generally. We're not talking about how to be an entrepreneur in the big sense. We're talking about digital entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
We narrowed ourselves down to an area we thought, here's something that isn't being done, and here's something that we're good at. So the first part about being a niche is definitely finding your area of competency or expertise. And the second part is, I think, identifying that big problem. So the big problem is, and that's the classical entrepreneurial term for it, but finding the thing that people need.
Yeah. So,
oh my God, people need to know more about digital entrepreneurship. Oh my God, people need more choices of pizza symbols. So I don't think the circle pizza and the square pizza are enough. People need triangle pizza. And you can be wrong, hint, hint, that's wrong, about, the need for a particular thing. But identifying a big problem is a great way to get started, because you're matching your supply with the demand.
No, that's true.
In a classical, macro, micro.
That's interesting how everything ends up tying in some way, right? Now this is business now. I mean, now we're looking at, the fact that what you do has to be wanted by people, or else you're not going to get the traffic, the views, the reads, the downloads, or whatever that you are looking to get. I think that makes sense, that you want to aim to fill a need of the people. Now, you had mentioned this before, so that's why I want to ask you about it now. You did a good job explaining it. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that people know that they need. You can just make your own market, right? I mean, that I'd argue that would be the most successful of markets, is if you can convince people to want your product or
absolutely.
brand.
I mean, you think about the people that became, and we're ahead of ourselves here, but you think about the people that became billionaires. They're usually people who identified a need that we didn't know we had.
Yeah.
No one knew that they needed a personal computer in 1955.
Yeah.
But by 1985, I think the idea of a personal computer was pretty significantly cemented in our cultural zeitgeist. So identifying a need before anyone knows they have it, that's the way to get first to market, and first to market's a great place to be.
Yeah, I mean, look at Apple.
right.
Yeah.
And that's why starting in your area of competency rather than trying to go outside of it is a great way to be able to know the need, because you'll know what you don't have access to. So you'll be like, oh man, I really like video games, but I can't find someone who writes really good reviews of horror video games.
And that's where the niche,
And now you have a demand. Because you know the demand, because you know the area well.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll be wrong. Sometimes you'll be like, oh wait, you know what? I did a Google search. Always start with a Google search.
You're coming back to your...
You do not want to all of a sudden be like, oh, I'm glad I put a month of work in, and no.
This comes back to your teleprompter thing, right?
Yes.
You were.
Yes.
I think we talked about this already on the podcast.
Yeah. I talked about this teleprompter app. I thought I was basically like the next Bill Gates, and it turns out there were 13 teleprompter apps. Now, luckily, I looked that up and sort of searched for that. Before I spent money, or before I paid somebody, or before I put the time in to build a teleprompter app, which would have sucked.
Yeah.
But
that's
yeah,
fine.
definitely a quick Google search can save you a lot of time and trouble.
That's interesting, though. And I think a lot of what it comes down to, like you said, is finding something that you wouldn't mind reading, watching, participating in, if it's a forum or whatever. So because the reason being, and I kind of just picked up on that when you said it, is you're not only identifying a theoretical niche, you're identifying a real life niche that has to exist because you feel that way. And if you feel that way, there's tens of thousands of people that also feel that way.
Yeah, or tens of millions. I mean, think about it. Like, Have you ever had a great idea and you go and you're like, oh, someone got to it already?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
not because of magic. That's because an entrepreneur before you saw that
Identified
exact
the
thing
need.
you
Yeah.
did and said, oh my God, someone has to fill that need.
Yeah.
So don't get discouraged when that happens. Understand you're on the right track,
Yeah.
because if it already exists and people are using it,
Yeah.
then you were right. People needed it.
Yeah.
And just the fact that someone got there first is not a bad thing. Now you can compete with people. We're suggesting that if you're starting out small, probably don't want to try competing with, we'll stick with our video game example,
Yeah.
with IGN.
IGN, it's not, yeah.
But,
GameSpot,
exactly,
yeah.
yeah. So maybe don't start there. But, definitely stick with it until you find something where you're like, oh, wait, no one's operating in this sphere. Or they are, but they're not doing it well.
Yeah.
And I think that, once again, we're turning some economic concepts here into the common parlance. But basically, what we're saying is you have to find the demand, and that's really the social utility of an entrepreneur, is that entrepreneurs fill those gaps in our society. We traditionally think of those as the economic gaps or the demand gaps, but even the gaps in the social entrepreneurship. Maybe before the American Heart Association, or before any of the many heart associations that exist out there, there was a need for an organization that dealt with heart-related health issues.
Yeah.
So that's where almost all things come from,
Yeah,
is
it's
just
just
identifying
identifying
a
need.
need.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because people have needs. And society is about finding ways to meet the needs of people.
Yeah.
At the most basic.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense to me. And I think something interesting that stems from this is, so we were showing an example of a niche within a well-populated industry. So video games, video game reviews, video game news, that is something that pretty much everything has been covered. I guarantee you there's at least a couple of horror blogs out there, horror video game blogs out there and stuff. Now, what's even more powerful, I would argue, is if you can find a niche in a field or an industry that doesn't already have anything at all. So not only are you identifying a sparsely populated niche, you're identifying something that, kind of like you said, just doesn't really exist or otherwise is just not, there's no motivation to do it. If you can make the motivation to do it, then that works. Here's an example, being maybe the competition for, for marketing a site about kitchen appliances and utensils. Maybe there's not really any blog or anything for that because nobody really has a reason to. But when it comes down to it, there's tons of people that are looking at. You can prove through research that there's tons of people looking that stuff up. So that's an untapped market. So if you can find a way to monetize it and you make a blog about kitchen utensils or kitchen appliances or whatever, well, you've just identified not a new anything. It's just the idea is nobody's there. So if you can find a way to sell or to affiliate sell, we can get into that later and all, but like you can find a way to sell microwaves, through microwave reviews. I doubt there's too many microwave review sites out there. Like the fact being, you could probably stand to make a pretty good profit because it wouldn't be hard to rank as far as get your content seen.
Yeah, there's a guy on YouTube. I'll put the link below here for this as well. But there's a guy on YouTube that makes money reviewing fast food.
Yeah.
And that's sort of dumb, and you wonder at maybe the social utility of it.
Yeah, but I bet you
he makes money.
He makes 100,000 views.
I don't know.
No,
I would have to look at it
yeah.
again, but I mean, he makes money.
Oh yeah.
And it's not an insubstantial sum. I think it's at least $1,000 a month. But
yeah.
he reviews fast food. I mean, so I'm not suggesting that's what you do, but it's definitely true. And then do your research. So you might think, why do people keep making fashion blogs or clothing lines? Well, because fashion is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yep.
So even though there's some huge, massive players in the fashion industry and lots of mid-sized players and lots of small players, it's a big pie.
Yeah.
So even a little teeny sliver of a, $100 billion or whatever fashion market's worth.
Yeah.
Even a little sliver of that pie is pretty nice.
No, I think that's perfectly valid, because the idea there being, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry or whatever.
Sure.
The big players, they're getting billions, sure. Like you said, the medium players are getting hundreds of thousands, but when you say a substantial sum for the small players, we're still talking. If you could probably pull $1,000 a month. You could pull
or a lot more.
Or a lot more. Yeah, exactly. That's
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you hit the right area, and once again, it's going to be trial and error, and research is important.
Yeah.
So do something and this is why I think we should circle back around to passion.
Okay.
It's interesting here because I've read a really interesting article, and we will post the link below. I am all about my links below.
Yeah, you're all about the links below.
A really interesting article on a blog called The Minimalists, which is a really interesting blog. They do their own podcasts too. I don't think they have any idea who we are, but it's worthwhile. If you had to pick one, obviously you're going to listen to us. But if you're going to do two, they're not a bad second choice.
Sure.
But they were a really interesting article. They talked about why following your passion is kind of crappy advice. And the idea was, it assumes this idea of, and I'm very much paraphrasing and simplifying here, but it assumes the idea that you have a pre-existing passion.
Okay.
And that maybe we talk about passion in the wrong way, and that it's more about cultivating a passion in the interest sense, more than like I love cooking utensils so much. It's more of I'm interested in cooking, and I'm going to cultivate that into this real knowledge of, here are the best cooking utensils. I found,
that's interesting.
I hate, this is just a personal pet peeve of mine.
Okay.
I hate having a crappy can opener. And I had a crappy can opener in college, and when I graduated college and went to law school, I went out and bought a $28 can opener.
Nice.
Which might seem stupid, but it makes my life on a not almost daily, every other day basis, just a lot simpler. Just like, it saves me a minute of time and a little aggravation.
I need to ask you something. What was so bad about the other one? Because I think I either have you equaled or beat.
It wouldn't open. It would break. It would take me 5 minutes. I would cut myself. It was rusty.
Did you have to? I have one of those ones where you clamp it on the top and then you spin it, and it's supposed to spin the can around.
Oh, none.
Well, no. Listen, it broke, so it didn't actually spin it all. So I had to clamp it and then unclamp it, and then clamp it a little bit to the left, unclamp it.
It's a nightmare.
And I had to do that, like clamp it all. It was awful.
I am going to, you know what? Since I'm Mr. Link Below guy, we're going to put a link to the
best
can opener that I bought from Kohl's, which I will just stake my life on, because that thing is just amazing.
That's awesome.
And it's so much less aggravation in my life. But that, if you were the guru of kitchen utensils, and I'm like, where do I find a can opener that doesn't make me want to pull my already receding hairline out? Where am I going to find that? And you're like the guy, and you've cultivated that passion for cooking. Then I'm going to go to your blog, and I'm going to be like, oh, look, can opener, great, thank you. And you're going to benefit, I'm going to benefit, and then entrepreneurship is succeeding and meeting the needs of society.
Now, I would say more than that. In addition to that, you are completely right there. In addition to that, I would argue that that's even more valuable than you led us on to believe, because if you can bring them in, sorry, I'm going to take one step back and just clarify. I think that building a website, building a entity like that is all about your reputation and building trust of your community, building a community, right? So making this, you being the guru of can openers and all things kitchen utensils, fine. I'm going to go to you I go to your blog, right? And I see that you are just amazing when it comes to this can opener review. Okay, so great. You've made a connection there. Can openers, like, now you're well known for can openers. But more than that, next time I'm looking for a kitchen utensil, I guarantee you I'm gonna check your blog to make sure that you didn't also review the freaking lemon squeezer that I'm looking to buy. Because I trust your review. I trusted your review for your can opener, so why wouldn't you deliver the same quality of work for your lemon squeezer?
Right, and why do we bother with this kind of stuff? Well, because I don't have time to go out and buy and try every single can opener on the planet.
Yeah.
But if you do that for me and you provide me good information,
I trust that.
then not only do I trust that information, but that's valuable.
Yes.
So you're doing something that has value that not
Yes.
everyone does.
And I think that's a big part
Sure.
of the niche itself is finding. It's not only finding something that people don't do, it's finding a way to provide value in that regard.
And that is 100% what it is, because, and this is why, and once we have talked about the internet ethics episodes that we are going to do, just ad nauseum. But I think it's so important because we don't talk enough about internet ethics. But it's one of the reasons why people who create crappy content will not succeed in the long term. Because not only will people not trust the brand, but you're not really providing value.
Yeah.
You're providing crap.
Yeah.
And people get a nose for crap.
Now, I will say, as frustrating as it is definitely possible to make money off of crap. I mean,
Yeah.
very possible. Just think of those stupid coupon sites where you click on it and it takes you to the site, and you're like, it didn't actually give me a coupon. You realize every time you click on one of those mother effers.
But you know what? I think, like, do you go I pretty much never use anything but Retail Me Not.
I use everything. Because every now and then you find a hidden gem. But what I do, because I'm on to all their techniques, I open a sandboxed browser, so
Okay,
I don't
so
care about what I go to, and then I go to it.
You are the tech savvy consumer.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that's like, but to me, it's all about brand. So I know
Yeah.
Retail Me Not
Yep,
is going to
yep.
give me a good, for the most part, it's going to give me a good coupon.
Yep.
So I go to Retail Me Not every single time.
Yeah.
And if I do try a different site and it does that to me,
Yeah.
I'm not going back.
But it doesn't matter. You do it once, and then they just made
But
$20.
But they're not making the same amount of money that Retail Me Not makes.
Oh,
Because-
no way.
And so it's
but it also
definitely-
take them a lot less time to make that.
Well, yeah. So once again, this is the internet ethics episode. You can see that we're gonna have some interesting discussions.
And I'm not necessarily advocating for spam. I don't think I'm not trying to advocate for poor content. I think your content should be good. The point being, it's hard to just sit here and preach that you can't do anything.
And I don't think we should. I agree with you, because I think our job. I mean, we're gonna have opinions here, and hopefully we're gonna push for ethical use of the internet. But we're gonna present everything to you, because you're gonna encounter spam, and you might be tempted to try spam, and you're gonna fall somewhere in between black hat and white hat.
Yep.
And Matt is very excited to talk about that.
I am very excited to talk about that.
And I am equally excited. So we will when those episodes go up, we'll put them. Guess what? In the links below. I know that's gonna be links below. That should be my
dude, you're really making
Matt
me,
links below.
You're really making me work for this. Huh? You're gonna make me go back
I know.
10 episodes later when I remember.
I'm keeping them here. I'm
That's,
making a list.
all
I'm
right.
checking it once.
Once,
Yeah,
that's the
all right.
problem. We only got to
Yeah.
check it in 7 episodes.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's fine. So I think once you have found that niche, you've identified the area that you're passionate about and that you want to continue developing or look into or work on in general, I think it's important then to identify which general platforms you want to target, what your best what the most optimal place to reach your target audience would be. And I think that's the next logical step in the chain, which this is a lot bigger than I'm going to discuss in the next couple of minutes, but just touching on it lightly, you're going to want to think, so something like fashion, I would argue that fashion would have a very strong social media presence. So, because people want to just see these images of like this outfit that is really nice or makeup that looks really good or whatever, and the most visible place for that would be social media. That's going to be your most powerful tool in being able to drive people either to your website or just to monetized platforms or otherwise. So, whereas video games, I don't think I'd necessarily say that posting a picture on Twitter is going to get you your best return. I just don't think, you'll get return on it. I just think that at that point, a plain Google search for game reviews, so like No Man's Sky review, right? That came out a little while ago and all that, but
Quite interesting. I'm sure you're getting a lot on that. That whole
well,
yeah.
the idea being, you probably want to tailor your niche to the platform that you want.
Definitely.
And I think being able to identify that is a battle in itself. You have to understand the market that you're going for.
Absolutely. And I think part of that, and we touched on Twitter, and once again, there will be social media podcasts, there will be a branding podcast, but part of what you're going to do is you're going to identify maybe if you need a brand, and then if you do, you're going to sort of tailor what you're doing. So a lot of what we're talking about, since we're talking about digital entrepreneurship, in some way, shape, or form, involves a website. Although what kind of website, the extent of the website, how much social media backing you need, how much is necessary, how much is useful. I think all that sort of comes into play.
Yeah.
At a certain point.
Yeah, definitely. It all interweaves.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not too many reasons why you wouldn't want a website with your Twitter account, unless this is a very short-term project, maybe an experiment. Or the point being, most of the things that you have at your disposal, you want to use because there's no reason not to.
Sure.
Just from a practicality standpoint, if it's there and it has the potential to increase your earnings, why not take it? Why not take advantage of it?
Absolutely. And it could be anything. I mean, if you're going to discuss complicated topics, maybe make a podcast. If you're gonna show people how to cook, you might do an article, but you might also consider a vlog.
Yeah, video blog would be great for that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think there are definitely different ways. But if you're writing articles about current events and politics, maybe you don't want to vlog. Maybe a podcast is too much because it's not really what you do. You just want to produce 3-4 articles a week that cover current events. You might just want a basic blog.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe you don't want to put in a ton of effort in terms of building this giant website when a simple blog will do.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, maybe Tumblr's useful for you, maybe it's not. And that's all going to depend. It's going to depend on audience. And once again, I think we're not glossing over, but I think we're simplifying maybe the more traditional approach of identify your audience, identify your mission, identify your vision. We can do an episode like that. And if you think we should, let us know. We will get more technical, but we like the conversational tone.
Yeah. Well, but just generally covering that, you can go more in depth later.
Sure.
But I think we did basically touch on them. The idea being you want to understand what your audience wants, and we had said maybe put yourself kind of in their shoes. What would you like to see? What's an area that you identify as something that you would enjoy reading or you would enjoy participating in, because the chances are if you would, then the rest of your target audience would too, and you've identified your target audience, right? Something else that I want to mention would be there's never too early to start thinking of your name for the thing that you're looking to look into. So if it's a niche site, you're going to want to make sure that some of your keywords are in the title. So it's not necessarily a requirement. If you're building a brand and your brand isn't really linked in with the theme of whatever your niche is, that's okay. You can still rank. But if you have the rule of thumb would be to generally tie in your title or website name with the content you're looking to do. So,
sure.
I could tell you videogamereviews.com, if I'm sure that's a website, that one was going to be a heck of a lot easier to rank for video game based things than mattsawesomeblog.com. It's just not that you can't rank mattsawesomeblog.com, just that video game reviews is just going to naturally be easier for people to find.
Yes, and this gets into the whole theory of names, which can be really, really interesting in a branding perspective of, think about Keurig. What does Keurig mean? Well, before the mainstream wide acceptance of the Keurig machine, not really anything. So, and in that sense, they've built a brand that is sort of insulated from attack because Keurig has become synonymous with the thing itself.
Yeah.
The great example of this that you're all aware of is Google.
Yeah.
Google has become synonymous with search something on the
searching,
internet.
yeah.
You don't say go search it on the internet. You say go Google
Go
it.
Google it. Yeah.
And that's sort of, and Google doesn't, obviously it means something outside of Google, but really anymore, no. And it's sort of a niche word in and of itself.
Yeah.
But that's harder to brand.
Yeah.
So it's harder to brand Google or Keurig. For every Google and Keurig, there's a lot of things that aren't Google and Keurig.
Yep.
So you think about something, I think of, you worked there for a while, Kitchen Capers.
Oh yeah, Kitchen
Capers is a great name that's tailored to,
Yeah.
the crazy stuff that's in your kitchen.
Yeah.
And that sort of name can be really, really helpful.
Yeah, it can be. Now, I mean, personally, I always tend to go towards the Google type names, and that probably hurts me. But my creativity, that's something that it motivates me. It motivates me to make this brand. It motivates me to have this entity that has its own space almost. When someone searches Kitchen Capers, you don't also get Amazon's kitchen products review site popping up. You know what I mean?
No.
So you do, but you wouldn't if it was called,
Right.
Invade the Net, which is my video game. Where if you search for Invade the Net, you don't get anything. But the point is, when you do get Invade the Net, you're not going to get IGN.com because you probably won't.
Yeah, I'm going to do a quick Google search of Keurig right here, and I mean, pretty much every result.
Yeah, like you'll get Amazon selling Keurig, but you won't get Amazon selling coffee. You'll
right.
get Keurig. We
had the Keurig site, Amazon Keurig, Wikipedia Keurig, Target Keurig, and then articles about Keurig.
Yeah.
But there's nothing about any other coffee brand. There's nothing about any other automatic coffee maker.
Yeah.
There's no Folgers on here.
No.
There's no Tassimo or Temismo.
I thought it was Tassimo.
Tassimo, there you go. Whatever the competitor is, because it's Keurig.
Yeah.
So, if you are, and I'm trying to think of some brands. I mean, Oprah is this way. Oprah is Oprah. So it's definitely branding. We'll talk more about branding, I think, at a later date. But
I feel like we say that all the time.
I know we do, but it's because we know so many things we want to cover.
Well,
but we're still in the early episodes.
Yeah, I guess that's a good thing, though. I mean, it's nice to have something to look forward to.
We'll be doing the reverse. A year from now.
Looking back at our episode that we
go check out episode 7 where we talked about Oprah and Keurig.
Damn, if you can remember that, like off the top of your head, a year from now.
I'm gonna make a note right
episode
now.
Episode 7.
Right now. So what would we be a year from now? I don't even know. Episode.
I don't even know.
59.
Oh well, good. Yeah, good math.
I don't know exactly how many we would be because what are we doing? We'll figure it out.
Yeah, whatever. Well, I hope this episode kind of helps you to form your idea for what you want to do and get a better picture in your head of maybe your entrepreneurial venture that you could kind of start thinking about, start working on as you're listening to these podcasts week by week.
Find your niche.
Yeah.
Find your area of competence. Narrow it. Find your big problem in the field. Find the thing that people need and that people are willing to pay for. Because if people need it and they're not willing to give you anything for it, might not be that useful for you. And don't follow your passion so much as you cultivate your passion. And I think that pretty much rounds out the summary of this episode.
Yeah, I agree. And I want to let you guys know if you want to put down in the comments that you guys, if you have any questions or if you're just curious about how to come up with a good idea for a niche, you need help or whatever, I mean, just let us know. We're pretty approachable, we're pretty open, and we're always looking to help you guys out and help you further yourselves, because really by teaching you things, it's helping us to learn it. Or to learn it better, or to master it. So we don't mind. We're getting something out of it as well. So as always, leave your comments, leave your questions, leave your concerns, and
I know we will see you next week, dear heroes. Wonderful.
Go be heroes.
Yes. We are one step closer to hero, one step further from zero.
There you go.
Yeah.